Ladies and gentlemen, as we get into this decade and as we transform ourselves and we aspire to become a university and have more campuses, I'm really happy to have somebody who's going to help us ensure that we bounce forward. An expert in resilience and corporate turnarounds, one of the world's leading speaker coaches, the CEO for SpeakerInstitute.com, somebody who's very strongly connected with humanity by being an incubator for the next generation of speaker talents, an accomplished author who has written 6 books, including an international bestseller. The 2015 Edupreneur of the Year awardee, the Young Australian of the Year, somebody with a diverse background within the Australian federal government as a youth futurist. Ladies and gentlemen, let me have this man who came back from the dead and lives to tell the tale. The man who coined Bounce Forward. We are really proud at NSHM to have you today, Sam Cawthorn.
I've been thinking about how can I add value to you? Because one thing that I have learned is that no matter what you're going through, whether you're going through family troubles or crisis or issues, whether you have tough times, I know that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Now, just a few years ago, I had a major car accident. The police said it was a 206-kilometre head-on collision with a semi-trailer truck. But just after my car accident, I then won this award. It was the Young Australian of the Year. And it's the highest honour of any Australian. And the Prime Minister of Australia, in his Australia Day speech, then looked over to me and he goes, "And thanks, Sam, I'm still recovering from therapy today." Have you guys noticed that things never ever go according to plan? It's true, isn't it? We can plan to go in one direction and life situations, life circumstances will take us in a complete different direction. And that's exactly what happened to my life. But I wanted to make sure that when I met the Australian Prime Minister, he'll never forget that moment. Because I wanted to stand out. I wanted to make sure that whenever someone meets me, that they'll never ever forget that moment when they meet me. What do you do to stand out? Because every single day we're faced with choices in our life. And I had a choice whether or not I was going to make sure that the Prime Minister of Australia remembered me or not. And I also had a choice around my car accident as well. Sometimes we take life for granted. But for me, it was just like that. I was in the prime of my life. 26 years old. I had the company car. I was working for the Australian federal government as a youth futurist. I was married. I'd married my high school sweetheart. We met each other in high school. Her name is Kate and she's an Australian girl. And I had 2 kids at the time. And right there, the paramedics pronounced me dead. And my family spread out all over Australia. Perth in Western Australia, Queensland, Gold Coast, as well as also Melbourne. And they're all right there by my hospital bed down there in Tasmania. But sometimes we do. We take family for granted. And we don't realize how important they are in our life until such time as that adversity happens, a crisis happens. Don't take your family for granted. I remember when I was in rehabilitation, someone said something to me, and I still remember it to this day. And they said this, they said, "Sam, it is your decision not your condition that determines who you are. My condition is a lot more physical, right? You can see my condition. But we all have these conditions, whether it's loneliness, doubt, depression, family problems, whether it's financial issues. I don't know what goes on in your world right now. I don't know those times in your life where you might just want to give up. I don't know what goes on in your life. But one thing I do know, that it is not our condition, but it's our decision. I have a thing which is called phantom